So all along this tutorial, I've been really trying to show you how to use IAM correctly. I've been trying to use the best practices, creating IAM roles for new Lambda functions, making sure they only have the rights they need to have to perform what they need to do. So I want to just summarize the best practices, but I think you should already know pretty much everything. And then we'll see STS very quickly. So never ever use root credentials, enable multi-factor authentication for the root account, and then use the user that you've created from there. So this is what we've been doing. I've been having the Stefan user, not the root account, for this whole tutorial. Grant least privilege to your function and to your role. So each group, user, and role should only have the minimum amount of permission it needs. You never grant star to a service. If I've done it, it's bad. Sometimes it's much better to grant a specific resource or specific set of actions. And if you have any problems, monitor API calls made by user in CloudTrail, especially the denied ones, so we can see what's going on with the permissions. You never ever store IAM keys credentials on any machine, but your personal computer or on-premise server. You know that if you use EC2 instance, for example, you have IAM roles for this purpose. On-premise server best practice is to have IAM credentials, yes, but then you'll call STS to obtain temporary security credentials, and we'll see what STS and how it works in a second. Now for IAM roles, I've been saying all along, use IAM roles. So EC2 machines should have their own roles, and we've seen this extensively. Lambda functions should have their own roles, and we've seen it extensively. Each Lambda function we created had its own specific role. ECS, we'll see this in the next section. ECS tasks must have their own role, and for this is just an environment variable called ECS enable task IAM role equals true that you need to have. Code build should have its own service role, allowing you to do what it needs to do. Overall, you need to create a least privileged role for any service that requires it. Amazon runs on IAM roles, and all the Amazon service needs to endorse a role to be able to act. As I said, create a role per application or Lambda function. Do not reuse roles. I want to cross-account access. So this is the one thing I really haven't mentioned in this course. But so if we're doing cross-account access, you need to define an IAM role for another account to access. So you create an IAM role in your account, and then you define which accounts can access this IAM role. So you only specify, for example, your friends' accounts can access it. And then use something called STS, which stands for Security Token Service, to retrieve credentials and impersonate the IAM role you have access to. And the role is, the API is called assume role. So what really you need to know is just to get cross-account access, you need an IAM role, STS, and you need to use the assume role API. The credentials you get out of it are going to be valid only for between 15 minutes and 1 hour. So if you need that for longer, you need to run assume role again. So here's what it looks like as a diagram. You're a user and you want to access a role. Maybe it's this in the same account or in another AWS accounts. You want to access this role. So you're going to say assume role API to STS. STS is going to check with IAM if the permissions are correct. And if everything is fine, it's going to give you temporary security credentials. And these credentials are basically going to be give you the ability to do what the role you wanted to endorse does. And so that's it. That's how STS work. It's quite simple, to be honest. And the exam will just ask you basic questions about it. So just remember this diagram and the components involved. But I think it's pretty easy to think about and reason now that we've seen IAM so much. So that's it for IAM and security. I hope you liked it, and I will see you in the next lecture.